Welcome back to another Johnny Brento's Brentocast. I'm going to change the name every week, right? Hope you guys are having a good one. Obviously, running a little bit behind schedule. Should have had one out Monday of this week. Can't even really remember if I put one out last week or not because things have been so crazy. But it's a good crazy, right? So I've been very active in the ripping of VHS in preparation for my new podcast show, VHS Graveyard, along with Manly Hanley, a.k.a. Harrison Foreman. And we have actually filmed our first episode, which I, in many ways, consider a test episode, just to sort of see, trying out a set, trying out a format. And it went okay. I think I had some good ideas to come off of it, for sure, especially with regards to set design and some of the things we might cover. But the activity of ripping VHS is really cathartic and fun. I mean, I just stare at the wall of VHS behind me and I just, meditate on it for a second and I'll go, oh, that one right there, that's a good film to talk about because most people don't know about it. And you can share a little something about your own enthusiasm and perhaps make someone go watch that movie. And that's kind of the idea. So actually what I'm ripping today, interestingly enough, is Witch Hunt and Cast a Deadly Spell. These are relatively rare VHS that you don't come across every day. One of the reasons that I'm ripping these is because I don't actually own these. A former friend lent me these and has been back many times since and never, we never thought, here's your tapes back, So not officially stealing these, but happy to have them in the VHS archive. But just in case that ever changes, wanted to make sure I ripped them. But the main reason that I wanted to rip them is to share them with, not the physical copies, but share the idea of the movies and maybe get some folks enthusiastic about them because they're both outliers, and that's what I'm into. Films that are just that offer something a little different. It would have been cool if Dennis Hopper would have played both roles, but y'all know I'm a huge fan of Fred Ward because he actually stars in one of, if not my favorite film, Tremors. And the franchise carried on with him in the first sequel, and it was really good. I thought almost as good as the first one, and then they markedly went downhill from there. But I still enjoyed them. I enjoyed all of them. And then of course Michael Gross took over as sort of the lead character, and Burt Gummer, and he did a great job of keeping that franchise alive. I feel like the last film he probably said, "Yo, y'all need to spoiler alert, kill my character off because the money at this point now is not worth traveling across the world to another exotic location that's like 130 degrees or what have you, because it seemed he was getting a little tired toward the end. But I digress. I want to do a retrospective on these two films because they're spiritual sequels, if not literal sequels. And on the subject of spiritual sequels, we have already prepared episode 2, which is going to be In the Mouth of Madness, which is part of a spiritual trilogy of John Carpenter's Apocalypse notions. I forget his Apocalypse trilogy or what have you, being I think The Thing, one other film that's escaping me at this moment, and then of course In the Mouth of Madness, all involving Lovecraftian type creatures getting loose on the earth. And man, they're all good. The Thing maybe is my second favorite film of all time, and probably the most impressive from the perspective of special effects at the time, which were rudimentary, but what they were able to pull off in that with reversing the film and puppetry was amazing, and to this day still stands up as some of the best stuff out there. So that's pretty incredible. So this past Saturday night, Bowers Foreman once again graced the stage, and by stage I mean corner of the room by the jukebox at Loafers and Legends, which is just one of the coolest spots to go grab a steak and hang out and hear some live music. Not just us, they have some really good acts that go through there. Of course, the great Braden Harwood, aka Music Man, my friend and mentor in many ways. I love to catch his act there because he's always amazing. And some others that have been really cool out there. They do have a pretty cool, I can't believe I'm saying this, because typically speaking, I'm not a huge fan of karaoke, but out there, they do that sometimes on Friday nights, and it's not bad the way they have it set up. The guy's real reasonable about working with you to make sure that the song doesn't start playing in a different key or what have you. So I've enjoyed the times that I've partook in that, and I only partook because I was pressured into it, but actually it was fun. So it's just, what's not so fun is getting somebody that really thinks they can sing, and they want to do like 4 and 5 songs, and I'm like, I can take a guy that's slightly off pitch 1 or 2 songs, but you start getting into like the 4 and 5, and I'm like ready to go, because I'm like, this starts to hurt my ears. But they've done a good job of managing that out there, and I haven't run into that too much at that particular one. They're not too loud. It's an interesting room. I mean, the owners are always a little concerned about people being too loud, but I think it's just one of those things where if people go to hear music, they expect to hear music, and occasionally, no matter who's playing or what volume level it is, like I distinctly remember playing there one night where they kept asking us to turn down, At a certain point, I just turned the PA off, and they didn't even realize it, and they kept asking us to turn down. I'm like, so an acoustic guitar and my voice is too loud? No, it's not. You can't hear this at the back of the room. I know it's not too loud. Just that table in the back, they didn't want to hear music. But really, it's not just the music. It's voices. In a room like that, voices get loud. You fill that room up with like 30 to 40 people, maybe another 15 or 10 in the bar, and the decibel levels go up, and it's not just the music, it's the kind of the cacophony of noise. But I digress. Normally that's not a problem, and this Saturday it wasn't a problem. Actually, really appreciate Leon Warren sharing our invite on the WAB's, I get the call letters wrong, local radio station, Facebook, social media, and then a few others shared it. And I had several tables of people came out just to see us, and that was amazing. It always makes for a great night, and folks were generous with the tips. It was just a good night. My granddaughter, actually, if you look on BrentBowers.com at part 2 of the weekly vlog for, I guess, August 1st, I always label it the next Monday. You'll see some footage that my granddaughter shot. She's 3 years old, so it's what you can imagine, and she just loves to play with the phone. So she'll get the phone, and she's figured out how to turn on, take photos, and take video when you least expect it. So there's some black footage with us playing, and some of it's shaking around, and her and her little friend there playing. So it's really cute. I'm glad that she can experience me on stage. Not that I'm Elvis or anything, but like, we do put on a pretty good show, I think. And actually, one of the people that's seen me before, that I've actually played for her in her establishment, said she thought that was the best performance she'd seen us give, and it's nice to hear that. So, but I mean, I give all credit to my friend and musical cohort in general, Harrison A. Foreman. I always say the A stands for awesome, because Harrison to me is the example of what I could have been if I'd have practiced a lot more when I was younger. But I digress. I really enjoy playing with Harrison, and everything we do, to me, is just golden, because it's like going back and having all my good band experiences from before without ego and attitude, which is something I'm guilty of, and virtually everybody I played with was guilty of. Harrison is like just in general, one of the most humble people, particularly given his talents at music, and that's like a superpower. I'm sure he doesn't realize it, but it totally is. And it's like, he's a unicorn. I keep saying, dude, you're a unicorn. He is a unicorn. And in the world of people trying to put music together and create original music, you don't meet guys like that very often. If I could meet like a drummer like that, I think that, man, the sky's the limit for us as a live band. But we tried for years. I tried for years, and I'm sure others have too, to find that perfect fit. And I found, decent players. That's not the problem. But it's like decent players that are kind of on the same page as you, that want to do original music, that have a creativity, that aren't content to come and just go, okay, A beat, B beat. Let me just do the same beat with the ride. Okay, that's it. Good job. No, but guys that are passionate about like writing percussion and drum parts. I haven't. I hold out hope that my friend Tony can be that person, because just like Harrison, he's virtually egoless and talented as well. But he's in a particular genre of music that I think, I'm sort of like that exposure to the folk rock or Americana, if you will. But like Harrison, he also shows up when he says he will. And I'm hopeful that he's going to be able to make that transition to rock and roll drummer. And if that happens, I'm telling you, as a 3-piece, y'all are going to hear some racket, because I'll switch off to bass, and we will let Harrison do what Harrison can do. And we will play some shows out here on the deck. We're going to play some shows on the deck regardless. They might be acoustic, but I would like to get to that point where you can make a big noise with electrics, because, like as awesome as Harrison is on acoustic, he's even better on electric. He's a pedals and effects guy, so you can get a lot of different sounds, and it's just fun, man. It's like I feel like I'm literally 20 years younger. I've gotten that passion back for playing live, and that's due in large part to being able to play with Harrison. So today is literally the first studio session for a new project that Harrison and I are producing and recording for my friend Ron V. Hill and his brothers, and the project's going to be called V. Hill, I think, like the album. I'm going to produce some, it's basically an EP. It'll be like a 6-song record unless they decide to add on to this. And they've provided me with songs of theirs, and I have sort of produced them, sort of retooled them a bit and tightened them up, and done demo versions, actually multiple demo versions, I think, of some of them. And we're going to try to, in a very narrow window that they're all here visiting Ron in this area, record them, get their parts, and then just carry on producing the record after they leave, and involve some of the local greatness that I'm, associated with, like Dave Harper and people like that. And we have an amazing sax player that's worked with us before too, Roger. And hopefully we'll be able to get all of them involved in this, because it has kind of I don't want to say it's a 50s record, but it's definitely in that direction. 50s, there's some 70s sounds, definitely a Beach Boys influence to it, and that's pretty much, I feel like, the way the songs are written. Of course, they tell me that I brought that from my influence, but to me, I listen to the songs and go, no, this is begging for like a Frankie Valli kind of backup or whatever. But anyway, I digress. Today at 4 o'clock marks the start of that. We're going to try to achieve a Herculean task of recording 6 songs with all of the essential guide parts, so that when those guys come in, they'll have the foundation of the song to perform their vocal on, and maybe even some guitar too from those guys. And I'll be able to just make that happen very fast, because time is of the essence. And unfortunately, the studio wasn't available one of the 2 weekends they're here, so we're having to just see if we can do all this in one session. And I'm going to try to line up another one, but it might be a situation where one of the folks who's only going to be here for one of those weekends, the second weekend, might have to record vocals here. But I've been diligent about doing that work, and Harrison and I have been working together for just over a year now. Just had our 1-year friendiversary, and I feel like we've been pretty diligent about moving toward that place where we can get tracks that don't sound that far off quality-wise from what comes out of Snug Records. Although we don't have, obviously, the years of experience engineering that Eddie does, or the incredible microphones that he's got. I do now have a decent condenser mic, and that can achieve pretty good results. And that's going to be probably what we have to do to achieve this task. But today is really about going in there. We've already provided guide tracks and vocals to Eddie, so hopefully the projects will be ready to go, and we'll we'll line up, we'll get set up for guitar, get the guitar mic, get the sound dialed in, and we'll record all 6 songs with the guitar, over the guide tracks. Then we'll do the same thing with the bass, the same thing with the drums, probably the drums first. And in that way, I think we can probably get those 6 songs done in 4 to 5 hours. So that's, if that works, that might be the new paradigm for how we work at Eddie's place, just to keep it, A, not wasting his time, and B, not spending more money than we have to. So anyway, I'm excited about that. I hadn't worked at Eddie's in a while, so that's incredible. Also, it's time for a new marketing kind of song. I don't want to say jingle, but Ansel Brown has been talking to us about writing a particular kind of song for a marketing campaign, and we're always up for that. Creativity is what you make it. You got to be willing to take on things that get you out of your comfort zone, and I think we're frankly good at that. So we'll be doing that, and then hopefully in the next week or so we will be recording the second installment, like I said, of VHS Graveyard. Episode 1 is actually available now. If you can find the link, the only place you can find that link is on VHS Graveyard on Facebook. I went ahead and posted it there, thinking maybe some folks will give feedback on it before I really get into having all the graphics done and everything. But there's a little graphical, it's a video version of it. I think episode 1, I don't know, they used to not propagate you onto Facebook, to iTunes until you had 5 episodes. And we've only got the one, so I'm just putting them up, not worrying about any kind of official launch. And I'm probably going to have a corresponding website to go with VHS Graveyard, because I've maintained that domain for some time now, all with the idea of doing this show. We're going to get on some t-shirt designs, and we're going to do a Patreon, not so much to make money, but to support the expense of actually publishing the podcast. I have, in the past, been able to host my own podcast for free, not having to pay like a monthly service to somebody to basically just do what I can do, share the RSS feed with iTunes. So I have found that plugin that I originally used. I've installed a second copy of it, and that's where I actually set up VHS Graveyard. I'm going to do the same thing with this Brentocast. Unfortunately, simple podcasting plugin that I used to do the first 5 episodes transforms the back end so that every post, it treats it like it's going to be a podcast, and I have to kind of go around the horn, so to speak, to make it not look like a podcast. It did not propagate out on its own, even though I set that up. It's all driving you to pay a hosting fee, which I thought was a reasonable fee, but when I actually got there and saw it, it's been raised. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I went back to the original approach of this. I think it's like Cool Podcast or something like that. It's the platform, and it's perfectly simple, dirt simple, I would say. That's what I used for Brento's budget filmmaking podcast all those years ago, and to this day, you can still find that podcast on iTunes. Whereas, like for example, we'll use the old Mutantville MVP, Mutant Radio, whatever he called the Mutantville podcast, and that podcast came and went as he would change host or not have a host for a while. So when it was not hosted, it was not showing up on iTunes. But he paid for the same hosting that I pay for, and he had that plugin available. He could have done that himself. Of course, he didn't know it, and I didn't either. But yeah, that's how I'm going to go. So I'm not going to be like at the mercy of the host. I'll be hosting it myself with SiteGround. Like my site's been on SiteGround for 17 years now, and they're like a lot of big hosts. As they get to be the biggest host, they become crappier. But that didn't really happen with those guys. I think they have improved their service, and they're very responsive. I'd rather not host my stuff in Russia. I wish there was an option onshore, but it is what it is. They're providing the best service, so they get the dollars. They may not actually be in Russia. They're just overseas. I know that much. So I'm on a detox and a weight loss kick. I don't know how much I've lost. I do know that it equates to 1 pant size, so 2 inches from the waistline at least. I'm going to do this without a doubt until September 3rd, when we're going on vacation for Nancy's birthday. And if I happen to have lost the weight that I hope that I have, I'm going to carry on till the end of the year. My big goal in life right now is to lose at least, whatever I got to lose to be below 300. My weight fluctuates now. I would say I'm down around 330 pounds. But I mean, I have been over 350 before, so that's not as fat as I have been, but certainly I got a long way to go. And I do have some prepaid trainer sessions, and I'm actually looking at taking a course through Stanley Community College a couple nights a week for about 2 months to become a certified trainer. I don't care about training other people. This is strictly about me training myself and just accountability. And this, Nancy and I are on the same page. We're both doing this detox thing, and it's easy if your partner is there. And my wife. I don't want to use like woke lingo on this show at all. This is not really a show. This is my podcast, but you get what I'm saying. Because some people will correct you if you say wife. Don't you mean partner? No, I mean wife. But my wife is my partner and my best friend. So that's the way it should be. But anyway, we're both on this, and she's doing well as well. And I told her, I said, as long as you help me with the prep and stuff, and we have that meal at hand when it's time to eat. I mean, part of this is that we don't eat after a certain time at night, and then we don't eat anything until 11 o'clock, and waiting for that smoothie at 11 o'clock. Man, that's tough. And if it's not there and they're too busy downstairs and I got to wait until 12 or 1, which happens, I'm right on hangry at 1 o'clock. So, let's just hope that all that goes well. But in true Johnny Brento fashion, I'm going to keep this Brentocast to 20 minutes. No film blurb this week, just that I'm working on VHS and watching a lot of cool stuff. And hopefully I'll be able to tell you guys about it in the future. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. God bless. Brento out.